Hello, my name is Jane Jawanda, and this is my presentation on Apple's aesthetic dominance. And we're going to look at the use of minimalism and advertisements and psychology that allowed Apple to become one of the top companies in the world. And we'll be drawing comparisons to artworks from the past and art styles from the past and see how Apple used these to become one of the top giants in the world in the technology space. So let's go ahead and get started. It all starts with the 1984 Super Bowl ad when Ridley Scott designed a commercial where it portrays Apple's Macintosh, a new computer, as being a liberator from oppressive technology, kind of drawing inspiration from George Orwell's 19 book called 1984. And this was a really cool ad for the time, as you know the visuals and the effects were really out of the world, especially for 1984. And I have a video that I can show you guys that really shows um, how unique and innovative Apple was. So let's go ahead and watch it. Yeah, and as you can see, especially around this video, it's like yeah, Ridley Scott kind of portrays Apple as like preventing like this massacre, and it's kind of funny, this little ad, and it draws psychology that I guess is different for the time. It's like a way for Apple to stand out, and I found it really interesting, so that's why I put it on here. Just the impact of advertisement and this unique art style and art like motive that they did with the dystopian look. So, and putting it in a Super Bowl made it really popular. So, but yeah, let's move on. Another ad campaign that they did was the ad campaign called Think Different. And this was another popular one because it included icons like Einstein and Picasso and other great people in this world. And they drew on celebrities, just like how people in history might have, praised kings or queens and put them in artwork. In this case, Apple put our innovators in posters and stuff and put it around the world. And this was really unique and able to promote Apple as a new innovator in the technology space, especially during this time. So, and I kind of wanted to draw a comparison over here too to the history of And here's a quote too. It says, "Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers." So Apple's kind of placing themselves in this idea where they are the misfits and they kind of are challenging the status quo, where in the past a lot of computers were boxy and kind of ugly looking, but Apple wanted to take a more artistic approach with their design. So yeah, Apple just wanted to connect their products to world-changing ideas that these icons represented. And I just want to touch on too, it kind of creates like a status differential almost. Like when you're using an Apple product, you can feel maybe as powerful or as unique as some of these innovators. So that's kind of what Apple was going for too. It's like by buying the product, you're able to transcend yourself, which is pretty cool. And let's look at the playful revolution with the iMac G3. It was a new computer released in 1998, and it featured like colors and really cool stuff inside of it. And I wanted to draw a comparison. Look at this Microsoft Windows 98 computer in around the 1990s, really boxy, and it's all one color, simple color. And sure, it'll look good in your office, but it's not very unique and not pleasant to look at. But in comparison to the iMac G3, and this is the time 1998, the internet is just starting, and to give people a user-friendly and approachable product was huge. And so this was what allowed Apple, by introducing colors and art and design, they're able to put themselves as a top leader in the industry. And yeah, as it says right here too, the computer can be seen as a piece of art in their house where people are proud to show that they have an Apple product versus a Microsoft product that's really basic. And you're not going to be smiling ear to ear when you see one of these, so you know what I'm saying? But yeah. And let's think about how they even sell their products with their architectural immersion. Apple does a really good job at making stores and warehouses where people want to go just to go. You feel me? Like these Apple stores act just like immersive galleries where, say you go look at art by Van Gogh or any other artist, you want to see it against a blank slate, a whiteboard. And that's what Apple's going for. They try to go for this crazy level of minimalism and introduces nature as well to make it feel like, yeah, you're finding something that's really clean, very new, and very innovative. And yeah, that kind of represents their ethos as well, and like their values, where they value user friendliness and they value simplicity, and their buildings are made the same way. So the next time you go to an Apple store, you can kind of see the similarities. It feels like a museum almost, and people go just for fun, even if they're not buying any products, as it's really, really pleasing to look at architecturally. And let's talk about some influence, particularly the Bauhaus influence, where form follows function. And Apple design philosophy, yeah, it's really deeply rooted in this, where they prioritize minimalism, functionality, and the integration of art and technology. And a good example, I have a picture on the right here that shows, and there's a quote too. Steve Jobs says that you design a ritual of unpacking to make the product feel special. Packaging can be theater, which is an interesting quote because not a lot of companies at the time thought about, like, how should I design my product when people open it. And there's another quote too I read about, is that they went through like around 1,000 designs and spent $250,000 just on the unpackaging alone, like, and finding like a good package that feels satisfying to open. So Apple mastering this is Apple's way of tapping into the psychology of its consumers, and kind of creates a loyal fan base where people are excited to open the next product. And yeah, it's really a different design, and this Bauhaus inspiration was able to set Apple apart from other companies. Additionally, we have another campaign called Shot on iPhone, where the user becomes the artist. Now, this is really unique, and not a lot of companies do this, where they kind of put the customer at the forefront, and they kind of say, hey, if one person, a normal person, can shoot pictures like this on their iPhone, why can't you? And this kind of expands, like Apple's creativity and artwork, showing that, yeah, they are a playful company, and they make like cameras that can like enhance the photography field. You feel me? So it inspires people to appreciate art and create art, essentially, with their Shot on iPhone campaign. And yeah, it also shows like as let's see, and yeah, it builds like this brand loyalty, and yeah, encourages user participation because they get so connected with their iPhone and the ability to create. That's really special. So, for a final note on this presentation, I just want to point out how Apple was able to use minimalism art to create technology that blends status, beauty, and utility. And with minimalism, yeah, they kind of build this idea of trust and simplicity that goes on throughout the years. Even with this first iPhone that looks a little boxy, it keeps its general shape throughout the years and not a lot changes. They kind of stick to principles and don't deviate much from it. Like if it works, don't change it much, right? Versus companies like Samsung, where they kind of change the company every couple of years or so, and people don't find this as pleasing to look at versus iPhones, which are slim and perfectly rounded, and sometimes even like this stuff, right? So that's kind of what sets Apple apart, and the design is a huge factor into doing this. And even talking about the UI too, people love using their UI, user interface, you know, FaceTime, and all the apps look different. That's what intrigues me about Apple. But yeah, including so going down the line, it also talks about the Apple stores. It's not just a place to buy stuff; it's a place where you can see innovation and you can just enjoy the environment that you're in, and including and trying to be inclusive to people with the shot on iPhone. It turns customers into actual creators and loyal customers. And so yeah, I mean, it's crazy what Apple's have been able to done over the years, but I'm glad I've been able to analyze it, and I feel like it should be analyzed more. I think companies can take note of what Apple has done, and they should try to be innovators in a way that feels responsible and and something that the people like. So yeah. And so here are my works cited. But yeah, that's the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. So, but yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you.